ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। अष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतिरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। मम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, last two three verses of Bhishmadeva's prayers, 1940. ललितगति विलास वल्गुहास प्रणय निरीक्षण कल्पितोरुमानाः कृतम् अनुकृतवत्य उन्मदान्धाः प्रकृतिम् अगन् किल यस्य गोपवध्वः. Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attracted the damsels of Rajadhama, the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the rasa dance. Purport. By intense ecstasy in loving service, the damsels of Rajabhumi attained qualitative oneness with the Lord by dancing with him on an equal level, embracing him in nuptial love, smiling at him in joke, and looking at him with a loving attitude. The relation of the Lord with Arjuna is undoubtedly praiseworthy for devotees like Bhishmadev. But the relation of the gopis with the Lord is still more praiseworthy because of their still more purified loving service. By the grace of the Lord, Arjuna was fortunate enough to have the fraternal service of the Lord as chariot driver. But the Lord did not award Arjuna with equal strength. The gopis, however, practically became one with the Lord by attainment of equal footing with the Lord. Bhishma's aspiration to remember the gopis is a prayer to have their mercy also at the last stage of his life. The Lord is satisfied more when his pure devotees are glorified. And therefore, Bhishma Dev has not only glorified the acts of Arjuna, his immediate object of attraction, but has also remembered the gopis who were endowed with unrivaled opportunities for rendering loving service to the Lord. The gopis' equality with the Lord should never be misunderstood to be like the Sayujya liberation of the impersonalist. The equality is one of perfect ecstasy. Equality is one of perfect ecstasy, where the differential conception is completely eradicated, for the interests of the lover and the beloved become identical. Okay, any important points? Anybody? What struck you when you heard? Anything? Nothing?
Pranam Prabhuji,
Yeah,
the desire of the devotee and the Lord becomes one. This is like,
desire of the devotee and the Lord becomes one. Okay. Okay. What else? Okay. So many things are nice here. Intense ecstasy in loving service. And so why the gopis are considered even greater than Arjuna, greater than Bhishmadev, the best devotees. They're considered best devotees because Prabhupada is saying here is still more purified loving service. So Arjuna's love is also pure, but this is still more purified. Uh, they have intense ecstasy. Actually, we can understand the mood of gopis. Now, Arjuna, while he's friend of Krishna, um, at times he's expressing his own views, things like Arjuna says in Bhagavad Gita, oh Krishna, sometimes, friendly joking, I commented on how you dealt with certain things, etc., etc. Like, so the there is a difference in the rasa, right? Like, um, in one sense, Arjuna also took service from the Lord. In one sense, by having him as the chariot driver, because that is making the Lord do something. But actually, the gopis are uh, so advanced. Chaitanya Charitamrita says that actually everything that they do is simply for the pleasure of the Lord. There is nothing, there's absolutely nothing, right, that they do for their own sense gratification. And Krishna, that is why he says, I can't repay you at all. Your own good deeds must satisfy you. I can't repay you. But Krishna doesn't say that with other devotees. So we can understand what is the position of gopis. Intense ecstasy. Intense ecstasy. So these are some of the pastimes of the gopis. Mm. Dancing with him, embracing him, smiling at him in joke, looking at him with a loving attitude. But it is all still more purified. None of this is on the mundane platform, right? It is still more purified loving service. Which is why we should not directly come to the topic of gopis because it's very difficult to understand. It simply looks like love between male and a female, right? But this is the topmost platform of pure loving service. So much so that Lord is actually giving them equal level. What is this equal level? Prabhupada is actually explaining that here so nicely. Mm. Of course, before that, Bhishma is aspiring to remember the gopis, to have their mercy. Uh, so all pure devotees, we should somehow beg for mercy and get their mercy. And one of the ways of doing it is actually glorifying pure devotees. We glorify pure devotees and their acts. So here, this is very nice. What was the equality? Dancing on an equal level. What is this equality? The equality is one of perfect ecstasy. So it was equality in perfect ecstasy, where the differential conception, meaning I am the Lord, or difference between Lord and his amshas, that differential conception that they are different is completely eradicated. Meaning all of them are experiencing perfect ecstasy on the same level. They're experiencing perfect ecstasy on the same level as Krishna. Mm. And here in this platform, differential conception is eradicated. Why? Because the interests of the lover and the beloved become identical. Actually, in Ambarish Maharaj, description of Ambarish Maharaj's life, right? uh, Similar thing is quoted. Meaning his desire was to fulfill the desires of the Lord. That's all. Interests of the lover and beloved become identical. So whatever Krishna wants, whatever Krishna wants, such a exalted state. I keep thinking, I mean, in so many small ways, our interests are not aligned with the interests of the Lord. So many small ways, in some cases, big ways. But the gopis always their interest was completely, exactly in line with what with Krishna's. So we are technically in this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. This is what we are working towards, or this is what we should be working towards. Working meaning, yeah, I mean, when we do sadhana bhakti sincerely, seriously, etc., finally we should come to this stage. Of course, our constitutional position will be revealed, but hoping, praying that this is the state and that we can go and assist Radha and Krishna in their pastimes. To be able to do that, we have to make sure that our interests are not different from that of the Lord. Actually, sometimes what happens is devotees sometimes think that, assume that their interests are in line with the Lord, uh, without actually clearly understanding. And how do we understand whether our interests are in line with the Lord or not? If our interests are in line with the interests of Guru. And in this also, sometimes there is a little bit mental speculation that happens. We assume that this is what the Guru wants. That is also wrong. We should be clear that this is the interest of the Guru, and stated in as many words, not extrapolating, not assuming, because it creates havoc. When we assume something as the interest of Guru and then we go ahead and try to fulfill that, it becomes like, Ashwatthama. He thought that Duryodhana is going to be happy by him killing 5 sons of Pandavas, but Duryodhana was very unhappy. So interest of Krishna is depicted or is understood in the interest of Guru, but interest of the Guru also should be understood as it is, not by speculation, not by assumption. And if our life can become like that, exactly in line with the real interest of the Guru, then our life will become successful. Then we can eventually actually enter the mode of gopis, because this is the mode of gopis. It's so nice that we can understand how exalted gopis are. I mean, such a great devotee like Bhishmadeva is praying to have their mercy. We can understand how exalted they are. 941. मुनिगणनृपवर्य संकुलेन्तः सदसि युधिष्ठिरराजसूय एषाम् अर्हणम् उपपेद ईक्षणीयो मम दृशिगोचर एष आविरात्मा. The Rajasuya Yagna performed by Maharaj Yudhishthir, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men of the world, the royal and learned orders, royal and learned orders, which means Raja Rishis and Rishis, Munis. And in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality of Godhead. The Adya Puja, the first puja, was done for him. This happened during my presence, and I remember this incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord. So Bhishmadev is just remembering various incidents that he personally experienced with the Lord in order to remember the Lord at that time. And that is the reason why we have to repeatedly keep reading Krishna book, so that ultimately we can remember some pastimes of Krishna. Uh, mm, this is the path to actually being able to remember Krishna at the time of death. That is why the process of chanting is first. Initially, actually, we are told that we should just simply hear. We should practice hearing process. As we do more Shravanam, as we do hear more about Krishna, Krishna's form, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's qualities, etc., etc., right? Then what happens is, as soon as we take the name of Krishna, like in software, we say hyperlink. Now, as soon as we take the name of Krishna, immediately Krishna's beautiful form, Krishna's beautiful qualities, Krishna's Leela, pastimes, everything automatically should come in our remembrance, in our memory. Right? We should be able to remember them instantaneously without effort. And if we can reach that stage in chanting, then at the end of the life, similar process will happen. That we simply call out Krishna by practice because we've been calling him out all the time. And because our chanting has taken us to the stage where by just simply calling Krishna's name, Krishna's beautiful form, pastimes, qualities, etc., come to our mind. Similarly, we take the name of Krishna and all of them come to our mind, and in that remembrance, we'll give up this body. So, this Shravanam Kirtanam that is happening should result in Smaranam, should result in us remembering. And that's what Yudhishthir Maharaj, Bhishmadeva is here is doing. Of course, he is so fortunate that Krishna is standing right in front, but that is a process for us. After gaining victory in the battle of Kurukshetra, Maharaja Yudhishthira, the emperor of the world, performed the Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. The emperor in those days, upon his ascendance to the throne, would send a challenge horse all over the world to declare his supremacy, and any ruling prince or king was at liberty to accept the challenge and express his tacit willingness either to obey or to disobey the supremacy of the particular emperor. One who accepted the challenge had to fight with the emperor and establish his own supremacy by victory. The defeated king would have to sacrifice his life, making a place for another king or ruler. So Maharaj Yudhishthira also dispatched such challenging horses all over the world, and every ruling prince and king all over the world accepted Maharaj Yudhishthira's leadership as the emperor of the world. After this, all rulers of the world under the regime of Maharaj Yudhishthira were invited to participate in the great sacrificial ceremony of Rajasuya. Such performances required hundreds of millions of dollars, and it was not an easy job for a petty king. Such a sacrificial ceremony, being too expensive and also difficult to perform under present circumstances, is now impossible in this age of Kali. Nor can anyone secure the required expert priesthood to take charge of the ceremony. After being invited, all the kings and great learned sages of the world assembled in the capital of Maharaj Yudhishthir. The learned society, including the great philosophers, religionists, physicians, scientists, and all great sages, were invited. That is to say, the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas were the topmost leading men in society, and they were all invited to participate in the assembly. The Vaishyas and Shudras were unimportant elements in society, and they are not mentioned herein. Due to the change of civil activities in the modern age, the importance of men has also changed in terms of occupational positions. So previously it was Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, now it is Vaishyas and Shudras. Right? They are the ruling, they are the important elements in society. So in the great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was the cynosure of neighboring eyes. Everyone wanted to see Lord Krishna and everyone wanted to pay his humble respects to the Lord. Bhishmadeva remembered all this and was glad that his worshipful Lord was present before him in his actual formal presence. So to meditate on the Supreme Lord is to meditate on the activities, form, pastimes, name, and fame of the Lord. That is easier than what is imagined as meditation on the impersonal feature of the Supreme. In the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is clearly stated that to meditate upon the impersonal feature of the Supreme is very difficult. It is practically no meditation or simply a waste of time because very seldom is the desired result obtained. The devotees, however, meditate upon the Lord's factual form and pastimes, and therefore the Lord is easily approachable by the devotees. This is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita 12.9. The Lord is non different from his transcendental activities. It is indicated also in this shloka that the Lord Sri Krishna, while actually present before human society, especially in connection with the battle of Kurukshetra, was accepted as the greatest personality of the time, although he might not have been recognized as the supreme personality of Godhead. And not everybody recognized him as the supreme personality of Godhead. Many recognized him as a great personality. Even now, the propaganda that a very great man is worshipped as God after his death is misleading because a man after his death cannot be made into God. Nor can the personality of Godhead be a human being, even when he is personally present. Both ideas are misconceptions. The idea of anthropomorphism cannot be applicable in the case of Lord. Anthropomorphism means man becoming God. No, he is God from the beginning, and he remains God. So, not many points to note. Can go to the next verse. तम्मिमम् अहम् अजं शरीरभाजां हृदि हृदि दिष्टितम् आत्मकल्पितानां प्रतिदृशम् इव नैकदार्कम् एकं समधिगतोऽस्मि विधूतभेदमोहः. Now I can meditate with full concentration upon that one Lord Sri Krishna, now present before me, because now I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart, even in the hearts of the mental speculators. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one. So he came to the stage of realizing Bhagavan. Lord Sri Krishna is the one absolute supreme personality of Godhead, but he has expanded himself into his multiplanetary portions by his inconceivable energy. Everything is Krishna, but he's expanded. The conception of duality is due to ignorance of his inconceivable energy. Conception of duality is due to ignorance of his inconceivable energy. We don't see, when we see duality, we don't see that it is actually Krishna's energy. That is why we see duality. Happiness, distress, etc. Everything is Krishna's energy. In Bhagavad Gita 9.11, the Lord says that only the foolish take him to be a mere human being. Such foolish men are not aware of his inconceivable energies. By his inconceivable energy, he is present in everyone's heart, as the sun is present before everyone all over the world. The Paramatma feature of the Lord is an expansion of his plenary portions. He expands himself as Paramatma in everyone's heart by his inconceivable energy. And he also expands himself as the glowing effulgence of Brahma Jyoti by expansion of his personal glow. It is stated in Brahma Samhita that the Brahma Jyoti is his personal glow. Therefore, there is no difference between him and his personal glow, Brahma Jyoti, or his plenary portions as Paramatma. Less intelligent persons who are not aware of this fact consider Brahma Jyoti and Paramatma to be different from Sri Krishna. This misconception of duality is completely removed. Duality means that there are two, that Krishna is different, Paramatma is different. No. This misconception is completely removed from the mind of Bhishmadeva and is now satisfied that it is Lord Sri Krishna only who is all in everything. This enlightenment is attained by the great Mahatmas or devotees, as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, that Vasudeva is all in everything, and that there is no existence of anything without Vasudeva. So this is enlightenment. This is not just knowledge. This is realized knowledge. We also have this knowledge saying that, okay, everything is Krishna, Vasudeva, Sarvam. But it's not realized knowledge because we still see things different from Krishna. But the great Mahatmas, they actually realize this. So they stop seeing anything except different from Krishna. Vasudeva or Lord Shri Krishna is the original supreme person as now confirmed by a Mahajana. Bhishmadeva is one of the Mahajanas. Therefore, both the neophytes and pure devotees must try to follow in his footsteps. That is the way of the devotional line. So for those who don't want to accept, just saying this is Parampara, Mahajana, so follow. The worshipable object of Bhishmadev is Lord Shri Krishna as Partha Sarathi. And that of the gopis is the same Krishna in Vrindavan as the most attractive Shyamasundara. So he's the same person. Sometimes less intelligent scholars make a mistake and think that Krishna of Vrindavan and that of the battle of Kurukshetra are different personalities. But for Bhishma Deva, this misconception is completely removed. Even the impersonalist subject of destination is Krishna as the impersonal Jyoti. And the yogi's destination of Paramatma is also Krishna. Krishna is both Brahma Jyoti and localized Paramatma. But in Brahma Jyoti or Paramatma, there is no Krishna or sweet relations with Krishna. So it's same but not the same. Right? Ajintya Bheda Abheda. His personal feature, Krishna is both Parthasarathi and Shyamasundara of Vrindavan. But his impersonal feature is neither in the Brahmajyoti nor in the Paramatma. Great Mahatmas like Bhishma, they realize all these different features of Lord Sri Krishna. And therefore, they worship Lord Krishna, knowing him as the origin of all features. Of course, our acharyas go one more step and say that Parthasarathi is also Krishna, but Most attractive form of Krishna is Samasundara form in Vrindavan. Purnatama, completely complete, uh, complete to the maximum extent, topmost extent, complete extent. And so they're same, but they're presenting. Krishna himself is presenting different qualities in his different forms. They're same yet different. Uh, yeah, but technically is the same person. So Parthasarathi is Krishna, is Shamasundara Krishna himself, but is not displaying all the sweetness that Shamasundara Krishna displays. Because for the devotees of Parthasarathi want to see him that way. So Krishna doesn't manifest the other qualities. Mm. So this duality was removed by vision, by realization. So we only have this knowledge, but Bhishmadeva actually realized that Krishna was present everywhere and that there's no duality, that every Krishna is everything, right? And everything is Krishna. So he achieved perfect knowledge of Krishna. So that's all. That prayers end. Then final verse which describes the actually Bhishmadev leaving his body. Tutuvacha Krishna evam bhagavati mano vag drishti vrittibihi atmanyatmanam sontahasvasa uparamat. Goswami said, thus Bhishmadeva merged himself in the super soul. Lord Shri Krishna merged himself, meaning just completely in one in thought of Krishna. No, yeah, it's explained here. With his mind, speech, sight, and actions, and thus he became silent, not merged as Sayuja. He merged himself with his mind, speech, sight, and actions, and thus he became silent and his breathing stopped. The stage attained by Bhishmadeva while quitting his material body is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, because he merged his self into thinking of the Lord and his mind into remembering his different activities. He chanted the glories of the Lord, and by sight he began to see the Lord personally present before him, and thus all his activities became concentrated upon the Lord without deviation. This is the highest stage of perfection, and it is possible for everyone to attain this stage by practice of devotional service. See, Prabhupada is clearly saying it is possible. The devotional service of the Lord consists of 9 principles of service activities, and they are hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet, worshipping, praying, executing orders, fraternizing, and fully surrendering. Any one of them or all of them are equally competent toward the desired result, but they require to be practiced persistently under the guidance of an expert devotee of the Lord. Persistently, under the guidance. Whole statement is important. Practice persistently under the guidance. The first item, hearing, is the most important item of all. We try to keep emphasizing this. One has to hear from the Guru, and therefore hearing of the Bhagavad Gita and later on Srimad Bhagavatam is essential for the serious candidate who wants to attain the stage of Bhishmadeva at the end. The unique situation at Bhishmadeva's time of death can be attained even though Lord Krishna may not be personally present. His words of the Bhagavad Gita or those of Srimad Bhagavatam are identical with the Lord. They are sound incarnations of the Lord, and one can fully utilize them to be entitled to attain the stage of Sri Bhishmadeva, who was one of the 8 Vasus. Every man or animal must die at a certain stage of life, but one who dies like Bhishmadeva attains perfection, and one who dies forced by the laws of nature dies like an animal. That is the difference between a man and an animal. The human form of life is especially meant for dying like Bhishmadev. So Krishna consciousness is art of dying. Right? So very giving full hope to all of us that it is possible, but it has to be practiced persistently under the guidance of an expert. And hearing is the key. Right. So with that we end this episode of Bhishmadev's prayers. Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay. Hope you're all inspired by hearing Bhishmadeva's prayers, long series of discussions. And so tomorrow, let me just see what will be. Okay, I'm just going to stop recording and decide what we'll read next.